that why Gil was
Hey, we're recording. Stop.
Oh, alright. Oh, okay.
All right, so we got the numbers?
Yeah.
All right, so the first thing we want to do is make what's called a 5-number summary. And the 5-number summary is the low, or they'll call it, I should say min, I guess. Min Q1, the median, Q3, and the max. So yeah, you probably remember this from the summer work, hopefully a little bit. So what we want to do is, we're going to start with the median. Well, min and max is the easiest, I guess. So 0 and then 181. There were like 4 people at Fifth Hour that had triple-digit cash on their person. Isn't that weird? Yeah.
In school?
Right. Anyway, so the median is when you start chopping from each side, right? You get to the middle, but I don't want to do that. I want to show you a more efficient way to do that. So let's kind of make a list here of, so I'm going to go down here and do some notes, then we'll go back up and fill out those numbers. So let's say let's do this. We're making a little chart. Terms in our list. Term number of the median. And so, for example, if I had 3 numbers in my list, first number, second number, third number, which one of those would be the median? The second, right? Was that a confusing question, or was that just no one wanted to answer? Okay, that's fine too. Too busy in the group chat. So first number, second number, third number. The second one would be the median, right? The one right in the middle? Okay, so if I had 3, the second number would be the median. What if I had 4? It'd be like the second, can I call it like the 2.5th term? Because you get to like, this is the second, and this is the third, and then you would take the average of those. So let's say like 2.5. I'm not going to do every number. We're going to stop in a minute. But what if I had 5? It'd be like I'd flip you off, right? Like first number, second number, third. Yeah. So that'd be the third. What if I had 8? It'd be the 4.5. What if I had 15? Not 7.5. I don't think anyone decided yet. I might have missed it. It'd be 8. It'd be the 8.
Oh, we said 8.
Oh, did you? Oh. And then you didn't say it again because I didn't. Okay. Yeah. All right, now this is the one I want you to try. What if I had n numbers? Don't say it out loud. Take a second. See if you can find the pattern. There's n numbers in the list. Which one is the median? And then your pattern should work with all the ones we just did, right? Hoskins isn't in the chat, is he? Okay. Thank God.
That's Snapchat.
Is that Snapchat? I don't even know what. I don't have Snapchat. Like the same type of thing? Full of like photos. No, they didn't.
Wait, what happened? It's recording.
Oh, we're recording, yeah.
I want to know
There you go.
We'll have to wait till the.
Wait, why are you looking? Where's my phone?
Everybody got it? Maddie doesn't think she does, though. Yeah, good.
That's like
So if you just like check those, if I had 3 numbers in my list. 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 divided by 2. I'll look at the second one. Yeah.
Is half n plus 0.5, right?
1 half n plus 0.5 plus a half is the exact same thing. Those will both work. So either one of those, it's easier for you to remember. So, you know, if I had 4 on my list, 4 plus 1 is 5. 5 divided by 2, I'll look at the 2.5. 15 in my list, 15 plus 1 is 16. Divided by 2, I'll look at the 8. So does that make sense? So the reason for that is the AP test might give you, like, here's 75 numbers. Find the median. I don't want to, like, write out 75 numbers and start crossing off. It'll take, like, the whole time of the test, you know. So this is like a shortcut. So we have 16 numbers in our list. So where do I want to look? 16 plus 1 is 17, divided by 2, so I want the 8.5th. So I want right between the 8th and the 9th. So I'm not going to start crossing off. I'm just going to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I get 5 and 5. If they were two different numbers, what would I do with them? I would average them together. Like if it were 5 and 7, you would say 6, right?
Yeah.
It's 5 and 5, so we're just going to say 5. And another key thing is, I did not use a data point yet. So I'm taking like in between those two data points. So I didn't use them. I don't cross them off. And what's important there is this 5 is still going to be in the lower half when I look at that. And this 5 is still going to be in the upper half when I look at that. So the difference would be if I had an odd number, you don't have to write this down, but if I had like 0, 4, 7, 10, 2, that is not even close to an order of 12. How about that? What's the median? 7. But that's actual data point, so then I would cross it off. And now when I look at the bottom half, 7's not in the bottom half. When I look at the top half, 7's not in the top half. So there's a difference whether it's an even or an odd. Okay, so I did not use a data point because I averaged those two. I know it's the same number, but I didn't use like one of those 5s. So the median is 5. And then Q1 is just the median of the lower half. So that's what I'm talking about. This 5, I didn't use yet. It is still in the lower half. Well, how many numbers are in the lower half? 8, right? So 8 plus 1 is 9. 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. I want like the 4.5th data point. It's all zeros anyways, right? So Q1 is going to be 0. And then the same thing on the top half. So Q3 is the median of the top half. So I'll give you guys a second to find that. So you get like 25 and 34, right? On the average, so that's 29.5. And then what this is supposed to do, so we got here and here. It's not perfectly accurate, especially with a small data set, although this one is perfectly accurate. It's not always perfectly accurate. What you've just done is split your data set into quarters. So you've got 25% of your data down here, 25% of your data here, 25% here, and 25% there. Or if you want to look at it on the 5-number summary, 25% is between those two, 25% is between those two, bless you, 25% between those two. Bless you. I'm not going to keep saying it, jeez. So, a question you'll get often on the AP test, hopefully a simple one, will be something like this. What percent of the data is below 29.5? So you'd find the 29.5 and you got 25%, 25%. So it'd be 75% of the data, right? What percent is above Q1? 75%. What percent is between Q1 and Q3? 50. So it just puts it into 25% sections. So you can look at, so you kind of have an idea of a bigger picture. That's your first job, is could you do a 5-number summary? Questions on that part? All right, second part, we got to make a box plot. So on a box plot, I'm going to make a box. Q1 goes at the left side of the box, Q3 goes at the right side of the box. So 0 and 29.5. You can make a number line, but to me, if you make a number line, you're going like 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, you're going all the way out to 180, and then you have to like line up everything perfectly, and it's really hard to read. I much prefer if you just label the numbers. Then I'm not like looking at a grid like, well, do they mean 29.5 or do they mean 29? So if you write this, I can clearly see, you know Q1 is 0, you know Q3 is 29.5. The median is going to be aligned somewhere in this box. It doesn't have to be perfectly proportional, but try to make it reasonable. The median's 5, right? So like, don't put it over here. That doesn't make any sense. Don't put it in the middle, because 5's not right in the middle. You know, the 5 is much closer to the 0, so represent that on your drawing. And then this is the median. You can also call the median Q2, which is like the second quartile, so you can put either one of those that you want. So this is a super common question. What percent of the data is between 0 and 29.5? 50%. 25% in each quarter, right? So there's 25% over here. There's 25% here. There's 25% here. There's 25% over there. So now we need you got the whiskers, right? So the first thing, for the whiskers, we need to figure out if there's outliers. So to find outliers, we're first going to find the IQR. IQR is the inner quartile range. This word says quartile, I butchered it like 3 different ways. And that is Q3 minus Q1. It's just the size of the box. It contains what percent of the data? Always going to contain 50% of the data. So in our case, what is the IQR? $29.5. Q3 is 29.5. Q1 is 0. If I subtract those, I get 29.5. With me so far? All right, so anything above Q3 plus 1.5 times the IQR is an outlier. Anything below Q1 minus 1.5 IQR is an outlier. The 1.5 is kind of arbitrary. There's no like special thing. If you're wondering, like, well, where did they get 1.5 from? It was just kind of some people decided, hey, this is a good cutoff point. It's not some magical number where something changes. It's just kind of like, this seems to make sense. And people do define it differently sometimes. This is how the AP test defines it, so that's what we're going to use. So then we're going to do Q3 plus 1.5 times the IQR. So that's going to be 29.5 plus 1.5 times 29.5. 70, I need a calculator. 70 cents, I might have it. I got one right here. $73.75. So let me talk about how you do that on the graph then. Is 73.75 a data point? It's not. So we're not going to put that on here. That's not going to be represented on the graph. What we are, because you got this whisker, right? You're going to have a little whisker that goes out, and you need a number there. So that 73.75, if we go back to look at our data set, is, right there. kind of in between these two. Anything above that is an outlier. So are there any outliers on that high end? Yes, 181 is an outlier. The closest data point to that that's not an outlier is what? 40. So you start at your outlier and you just go backwards one until you get to the data point. That's where your whisker goes. So the outlier cutoff point is in between these two numbers. This is going to be an outlier. If I go back one, that's going to be where the whisker goes. So this is going to be at 40. Does that make sense why I'm putting a 40 there? Maya, you look confused.
No.
You good? Okay. That's just your face. Okay. And then anything past that is an outlier. It doesn't have to be perfect to scale. I'd have to put this like, way over here or something. But I'm just going to go and put an asterisk there and say 181. That's an outlier. Question on that process on the high end. So we're going to repeat that with the low end. So we're going to do Q1 minus 1.5 times the IQR. So Q1 is 0 minus 1.5 times the IQR is negative 43 point something. Nope, negative 44.25. Are there any data points below that that would be outliers? No. It'd be tough to have negative cash on your person. Your bank account balance maybe, but not on your person. What is the closest data point to that that's not an outlier? 0. So I don't need to even put a whisker on this side because there's already, I already have a thing at 0. So my whisker is technically just right there also. So it's just like the same way. But if I had like a negative 70, that would be an outlier. Let's say I had like a negative 70 and a negative 30. This would be what? An outlier, and I put an asterisk. And then this would be like where the whisker went, right? Because that'd be like the closest data point to the outlier, or to the cutoff point. Okay. This graph is almost done. It needs one thing, and you need this on a ton of questions we've talked about in here. What do you try to address whenever you can? That's a weird question. Context. Yeah, thank you. Maybe it's not as weird as I thought. So you need a label on the chart. So this is like money on person third hour or something. And the label itself, like what you say, isn't that big a deal. They're not going to criticize like the wording of the label. They just want you to have one so it represents what this box, like what we're talking about. What are these numbers? Questions on that process anywhere? Or we'll do it a couple more times. It's on your con. Remember your con is due Wednesday? Looked like a lot of you were gone or pretty close to it, but if you want to be eligible for the corrections on the next test, make sure you get that done by Wednesday. All right, let me give you another data set. And I'm going to give you an odd number this time. I'm just going to make it up. This is like, let's say this is SAT scores. So this represents someone in the group chat.
Oh.
What are they going to try to defend it? I mean, like, sure, let's talk about it if you want to. It's not okay. Maya, what'd you get? Anybody beat that? Some of you haven't taken it, I know, but it's pretty darn solid right there. There's your data. So repeat that same process. I want a 5-number summary. And then a box plot. So I'll give you some time to do it. I'll kind of walk around and check and answer questions, and then I'll go through it up here. This is like the mathiest thing we've done so far. Okay, numbers, multiplying, subtracting. let me know. So there's 7, right? So add 1 would be 8, divided by 2, so you want the 4th term. And so in this one, and you can count, I know, but on the AP test, you're not going to be able to count easily. So you want to get used to the habit of like n plus 1 divided by 2. And in this one, the median is an actual data point. Like we didn't average 2 of them, right? So that's gone. It's not in the bottom half. It's not in the top half. Basically, because like how would you decide where it went? You know, so you just don't. And then you look down here and up here.
The IQ is the Q3 minus Q1. Yeah. So that's 2. Because it should be like 14. What? Yeah. So that should be cool.
Not good. Not good, dude. Ready to go through it or not yet? Not yet. All right. Thank you for answering. Did you add and then multiply by 1.5?
Yeah, so she wanted someone to get like 22,000 something.
220,000.
That'd be a high score.
That'd be a decent score.
It was mine.
That was your score.
You don't know the order of operations. That was not your score. Pretty sure they checked that. How many times would you, I'd have to take the SAT like 50 times to add up to that score. I'll wait a couple more minutes and then go through it. And you guys will get to practice this more. And this is on the con too, right? There's stuff like this on con? The assignments I just gave you? No. So if it wasn't hard. It wasn't notable.
I think it was as long as this it was.
That was probably like they broke it down into pieces or something.
This doesn't have the buttons or the numbers. Symbols on the side. I'm just guessing there's something.
What?
On the side, there's not like just the vision sign.
Oh, it's like worn off?
Yeah.
Dude, we can get you a different one. Do you want a different one?
I'll learn.
You're gonna, okay.
I'll push this.
It's enters at the bottom, and then going up, it's plus, minus, times, divide. You can like carve it in there. True. Okay. So the min is 400. Q1 I'm going to get in a second. The median's 1040, right? Q3 I'll get in a second, and the max is 1430. So again, in this one, the median came out to be this data point. And so it's not in the top half or the bottom half, it's just gone. And then Q1 is the median of the bottom half, which is going to be 900. Q3 is the median of the top half, which is going to be 1100. So, question on that, just those 5 numbers. And again, it's not perfectly accurate, especially with a small data set, but if I said what percent of the data is between Q1 and Q3, what would you say? You'd say 50%, like approximately 50% all the time, because this splits it up into 25% sections. So then to make my box plot, I'm going to start with Q1 and Q3. Those always go on the outside of the box, so Q1 is 900, Q3 is 1100. The median is 1040, that's a little bit higher than the average of, so like 1000 would be in the middle, so 1040 I'm going to slide a little bit to the right. And no one's judging you on like, did you slide it to the right enough? Just like, you know, be approximately accurate as much as you can. This is the median, or you can call it Q2 if you want. Those are the same. And then we get into the outlier business. So the IQR is Q3 minus Q1, which is 1100 minus 900, which is 200. A lot of people I know just do this right away, like what's 1.5 times the IQR? That's 300, and then you can go Q3 plus 300 and Q1 minus 300. So Q3 plus 300 would be 1100 plus 300, so 1400. Are there any outliers on the top end? Yes, there's one. And so I'm just going to put 1430 out here. There's not enough data points for me to even have a whisker. Right? So if there were another data point in between, so here's my cutoff. But the next number back that's closest is already being used. It's already like the side of the box. So if there was another number in between, like if there was a 1210 right here, that would be the whisker. Right? On the other side, if I do Q1 minus 300, 900 minus 300, so 600. So 600's here. Anything below that is an outlier. So down here is a 400. The closest thing to that that's not an outlier would be your whisker. You guys know what I mean by whisker? Like that line that goes there. But 900 is already being used as Q1. So this would be your box plot, except it's not complete yet. What am I missing? Need a title. What are you trying to tell me? What data are you trying to get across here? So this would be, if this were a Frappy, like a free response question on the AP test, this would probably be like a part A. It'd probably be 2 out of the 4 points. If you didn't put a title, you'd lose 1. Like you do all that stuff, if you don't put a title, you're only getting 50% of those points. So always remember context. Over include it if you want to. But yeah, question on the second answer? Alright, so tomorrow we'll do this probably as a warm up. We'll do another one and then we'll keep going. No homework. Thanks for coming.
I hate going to the gym. I just have to go to small places.
Yeah, and there's like drama down there now.
No, the gym. I go to the gym.